Welcome back, Venturers. It's time for another discussion about VNs. I am MR, and together with Tauros, we are on the brink. One could say on the criminal border. This time, I need to warn all our listeners that we will talk spoilers, especially for the first volume, from the get-go. So beware, or you'll end up jailed for listening to spoilers. On that note, Tauros, stop right there, criminal scum, and tell us all about the second volume.
Yes, we are continuing in our book club journey as we read the title Criminal Border, split into 4 different episodes. And now, MR and I have both finished Second Offence. This is a continuation off the first one, of course, and we are continuing in Itsuki and friends' plight in trying to pay back this, 20 million yen of debt that they owe to the Umonkai. It wasn't exactly their fault, it's kind of unfair, but guess what? When they're dealing with the Yakuza, that doesn't matter. And so, armed only with his super secret digital drug, it's up to him to make up all this money back, and not only that, but to crush the Umonkai. So, MR, do you want to start things off? Tell us your overarching thoughts about how you like this?
You know what? I need to get this out of the way.
Oh,
okay. This is my gripe from the start, and I sadly anticipate this will continue. I already know, but probably at the end of this episode we'll be talking about what our guesses are for the next volume. Can we stop and can we not start the VN with basically an H scenes trailer? That's. I know this is VN readers challenge not being horny failed, but please, can we not do that?
See, that's where you're wrong. That's greatness.
No.
We are starting things off by hooking the reader. We're like, we will catch your attention right off the bat. Here you are, right in the middle of an H scene.
God damn it, no.
And you know what's even better than just the easy horny bait is that in Second Offence, it's very weird. We start right in the middle of an H scene involving Kotoko, but like she hates it, and then she slaps Itsuki. And they're like, whoa, wait a second, how did we get to this? And then it's like, flashback to the beginning. And the whole time we're wondering how events could possibly lead to this happening. That's a great technique. I support it.
No, I feel like I watched a trailer to an H scene. No, I refuse. That's wrong.
And then at the end of First Offense and Second Offense, they gave you a cliffhanger for the next one. See, these guys know their stuff, man. But aside from that one gripe, what are your thoughts about how much you may have liked or disliked Second Offense more than the first one?
I feel like when it comes to comparison between the first and the second, the most noticeable difference is, I know, prepare what I'm. I feel like there's less echo in that one, and by echo I mean I don't read someone, this being protagonist, repeating what he heard. That was such a commonplace occurrence in the first title, and you coined it as the Metal Gear Solid approach to dialogue. In this, I actually feel like a lot of dialogue, Protag adds his thoughts and, how can I say, anticipation, especially in those antagonistic dialogues with not so friendly characters. And he says, yeah, sure, you're to say that, or he's probably lying, something like that. But that's so much better. That has improved tremendously, in my opinion.
Yeah, I remember that was a big criticism for me, was that I was not impressed with the writing quality of Criminal Border 1, but here we are in Criminal Border Second Offense, and the writing is much, much, much better. I think like the most obvious examples are usually at the end of various scenes, we'll have Itsuki, reflecting on things in his mind. And we'll usually get like that background shot of the blue sky as he's monologuing to himself. You know, that sort of thing happens pretty often all
Yeah.
throughout, you know, both titles. And in Criminal Border 1, it's really painful. It's just saying, like, my life is upside down. I don't know how things came to this. What will I do? But I need to change. And it's just, every sentence is just written like that, and it gets really noticeable in those parts. But now, if you look at what happens in Second Offense, they flow so much better. It's like there's so much more content to all of these sentences, and I feel like, you know, the translation actually gets to write better to reflect that. Yeah, before I was wondering if it was just an issue with the translation or if it was with the original Japanese script, but if I had to guess, at this point, I'm pretty sure that the fault just lie with the original script. Because, yeah, I'm happy with the writing now.
Yeah. Honestly, when it comes to things that really surprised me, I really like the way they flipped affection. What I mean by that is you approach this title having a goal. Pretty early on, it's established, get Kotoko on your side. This is the Yakuza daughter. You need her to have some sort of a support and equalize the powers between the protagonist group and the mafia boss. But pretty early on, you got Koji entering the scene, and because of the Kotoko's decision to accept him from Shinonome, now protagonist group is super averse to Kotok, and now she tries to win your favor. I felt like that was such a great inversion of what you thought will happen. So you are trying to increase affection points, but what actually happened is, yeah, protagonist and Hina, those two people are super averse to Koji joining the fray, to the team. So yeah, naturally they lost a lot of trust in that moment, and that became the point of contention for, I would say, around the middle point of this title.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's really interesting that instead of just us trying to get friendly and trusting along with Kotoko, it flows back and forth. Like you said, that whole incident with Koji, you know, accepting him into the club as a worker, it really lay her priorities bare about how much she's standing by the Umonkai, and now it's like, okay, well, she needs to make it up to Itsuki. That back and forth was made it a little more unique, yeah. And of course, Kotoko is the main heroine of Criminal Border Second Offense, and she has the most character development out of everyone involved. How much did you like her?
How can I answer that? I feel like, on average, when it comes to heroines that are basically defined with heroine with daddy issues, I know I'm generalizing, right? I know that she has a very peculiar reason why, due to the way her father conducts business that is not coherent with how she views justice, right? Fine, I get that, but still not my favorite drama standing point. But honestly, I feel like the way she treated the situation, the way she treated the protagonist and her own actions, knowing how she loses affection by, I'm saying affection, but trust, I mean trust with the protagonist group. Like that felt really cool. That felt really natural. I definitely like the growth that she presented.
And on top of that, we also got to see how much she was alone. There was also the whole aspect of her being a Yakuza daughter and that she couldn't live a normal life, how she doesn't really have any friends because as soon as they found out about her ties, they were like, uh-oh, scary, and ran away. And so, even though there's more to her and Itsuki's relationship, you know, politically and, you know, lovey-dovey relationship-wise, there's still more layers to it of them wondering, you know, how lonely they are and how much they're reaching out to each other. So that, you know, that on top of all the other, you know, her trying to come to terms that her dad's an evil crime lord, that gave a lot of interesting depth to her. I never thought she was terribly boring or that any of the drama involved with her was pointless. I liked a lot of what was going on with Kotoko.
Yeah, her arc was really well done. How on the first, in the first arc of the story, protagonist and his group was walking on eggshells, never to bring the topic of drugs to the discussion, unaware how she react and assuming she doesn't know anything about that whatsoever, which, interestingly enough, that wasn't true, as we know by the end. So, and then there's the moment of confrontation in which protagonist says, okay, we're so against the wall, it's do or die. We need to tell her the truth and operate based upon her reaction, having many plan Bs, so to speak, to do with her if she reacts in the wrong way. And like, damn. And given their first, how they say, age scene from the trailer, how it manifests in the story, it makes sense how she now suddenly became angry, how it flips back and forth, who wants to gain trust from whom. Like, dang, that was a good flow.
Well, I know that I just said that I liked Kotoko as a character and all of that. I'm not really blaming her for this, but there is still one underlying problem. A lot of Criminal Border is boring. It is still just not really giving us any real meat on the bone for Hitsuki's journey of taking down the Umonkai, as well as him changing into a better person. You know, just like what happened with First Offense. But yeah, what do you got, Emor?
Yeah, I think I'll chime in slightly. I would say there are two reveals on this volume arcs that I felt like they were super weak, in my opinion. Koji appears, and you can immediately notice, or at least I noticed, even in his faraway pose, something is wrong with his mouth. The first thing I had in my mind is like, I'm the Joker, baby. That kind of deal. So I already anticipated something will be played for scare or horror reason.
Yeah, I mean, he's always wearing that mask now, and he's always kind of mumbling and barely saying anything. But it's not too hard to put two and two together.
Even on the first appearance, you already can see the scar if you look for it close enough. I think the moment they dropped hints is during the first confrontation with Tatsuya, in when you had him close up and he had various complex expressions which accentuated that scar.
Yeah, it peeks out of his mouth.
I don't know. yeah, it's way more, right? It's not small. So I'm like, ultimately that reveal is like, okay, yeah, but I've seen that.
Yeah, it's not a
3 hours ago. And the second part is how the protagonist armed himself with the rave version offensive. So he made the rave version that induces nausea, right, and confusion. Like, immediately I noticed, in a way, when he talks about improving the digital drug, he meant, oh yeah, but during the course of experimentation, I made some failures. Like, at that moment, I knew this failures is exactly the weapon he needs. So the second reveal that he is preparing more offensive versions of the digital drug. I'm like, okay, was that a reveal?
Like, those were negatives for you?
No, I'm saying it was just predictable. That's my point, ultimately. I was not surprised by anything in this title.
Okay, I was. I mean, as far as, the mask thing, yeah, but as for him suddenly whipping out, version 2 and whatnot, I didn't really see that coming. I mean, obviously, when you spell it out like that makes more sense, especially when he's talking about how sometimes when testing his rave, he threw up. They kind of zoom over that off screen. But again, I mean, I don't think these are supposed to be some grand mystery reveals or anything. That's not really Criminal Border strength. So it's just one of those things where, hey, good on you for paying attention and seeing ahead,
I'm just adding those as an examples of why I wasn't necessarily... I mean, you made a point that why you're bored, and I'm saying, yeah, I mean, there were some plot twists. I just like, okay, I've seen that in.
Okay.
I wasn't surprised, basically. So.
As for me, well, I could say why most of it was boring is that once again, there's not really many obstacles for Itsuki to taking down the Umankai, nor in changing and becoming a better person. We finally get some good stuff. Just like in Criminal Border First Offense, when I'm sorry, what's his name? Koji? That's right. When Koji, picks a fight with him and tries to steal it, and that's kind of the only scary thing that happens across the entire VN. In Second Offense, okay, it picks up more, with Koji going nuts with a knife and attacking them and trying to kill them. Also, him wrestling with his morality of what to do in terms of trying to get Kotoko onto their side, as well as them coming to grips with now, oh my god, we just killed a man. We're truly scum, and them preparing for their future. There's more of those moments, but those are like all in the last third of the VN. We still get so many scenes of them just brainstorming how they're gonna start up their own business. And it's cool to see that they've got big plans. They've got this whole new floor, this new club that they're renting out, and they're trying to figure out where they're going to get the money for everything, as well as investors. And now apparently Shinonome is trying to poke his nose involved, and there's some questions about, there's going to be drugs there. But none of this ever really feels like it's mattering. To a certain degree, they're all important, sure, but it's just them going, oh man, okay, we're going to have to think about this. And then just the sun goes down and it's a new day and they're still just making progress. Like, where's the tension, Like, where's the stuff that makes me wonder, oh man, how are they going to get out of this? Despite being in debt for 20 million yen, and as much as they try to tell us that, oh, this is the scariest thing ever with our whole lives, now down the drain, I still don't really feel any of that tension.
Wow, were you not entertained? What? There was a drama. Shinonome offers you contact and supplies of towels.
Yeah.
Do you trust him? Do you really trust him? And the next day, Kotoko says, yeah, we can trust it. Bye. Solved.
Well, it's not quite as solved as that. But I mean, yeah, again, that's all that this VN gives us. It's like, ooh, aren't you getting worried about the big scary Yakuza? It's like, no, what the hell?
Yeah, but I picked up this example because Kotoko made it clear that, yeah, this one is the genuine offer and the only string attached is maybe you will owe Shinonome 1. That's it. But the offer itself is super genuine, unlike those investor clients that had a little bit more impact, but also has been resolved with a screening, one event, and everything is good again.
Yes. But that stuff is not interesting. I suppose I can see why they're important and while they're, potential pitfalls for our main character and his friends. But they're not interesting at all. They're nothing gripping your attention. It's not until we get into the seriously, morality wrecking stuff. Like, again, we get quite a bit, I wish we got more about Itsuki really trying to determine how he's going to convince Kotoko to stay on their side, and really, the only thing he can think of, the only thing that they're telling him to do, is to just use rave on her. And it's like, oh man, this is the first time now our main character actually struggles. It's easy for him to say that, oh, I'm going to be king of the underworld and I'm going to change. And all throughout Criminal Border, First Offense, and Second Offense, he is changing, and it's just like the most nice, padded, smoothest road ever into being a more stylish, confident guy. But now, here you go. Now this is a struggle to change, and that's what I want to see. That's what every story should have. Maybe not as, hyper dramatic as that, but there should be something involved instead of just maneuvering each day one to the next, trying to brainstorm what's going to happen and everything kind of going all right.
Okay, fair enough. Maybe the examples I brought I didn't sell enough that I meant those sarcastically. Those were not dramatical moments in which they were solved the next day immediately. As, for example, you had that high investor that you had a dilemma, someone who wanted to straighten up, right? So that was a perfect opportunity to have some deeper question for the protagonist whether or not he's willing to destroy someone's life to get ahead in order to fight Yakuza. But it has been solved by, but that guy is comeback, so don't worry about it. Yeah, they excused both the bad behavior from the investor and your own, but just saying, he's a bad guy, he deserves his future. Like, well, okay, sure, great.
Yeah, I mean, in addition to that, we just never really think about it ever again.
That's true. That's also true.
Yeah, obviously, as soon as it's out of sight, it wasn't important to our main character and friends, so why should it be important to us, the reader?
I was about to say villain of the week, but it was more of an obstacle for a day.
Yeah. So, on that note, as I'm thinking back in reflection over what we've read in Criminal Border now that we're at the halfway point, it's hard for me to think of, like, what is this VN's strength? Usually, if you're reading a good VN, you would think, oh, I could recommend this to somebody, and you would say, oh, it's this so-and-so VN has great action scenes, or so-and-so VN has some, amazing twists in its ending. And I'm trying to think that, like, okay, overall, it's not like I hate Criminal Border or anything. I'm excited to be reading it, and I'm looking forward to finishing it. But if I were to say, recommend this to you, MR, and really sell you into reading this, I'm wondering to myself, like, what the heck would I even hype about it?
Yeah, what's unique about Criminal Border? I hoped we would see more usage, more experimentation, more the digital drug thing. But I think in this volume specifically, the only thing that changed for that drug is its name.
That is true. It got a cool name.
That's true. That's a cool name. But even the failure was kind of treated offhandedly, without much focus. I hoped even after the reveal, maybe he can say something more to the effects of what he experimented with and what's the conclusion to. And maybe, I don't know. I expected more from the digital drug. And the only unique thing, I'm not thinking back about the first two volumes, that this kind of stands out, and maybe that's my bias by the VNs I've read, is they really made a very unlikable childhood friend, which is not typical in VNs. Yeah, but that's very unique.
I guess so. I mean, to a certain degree.
I know, the irony being that's not what you expect from me to say. That's the point of the joke right here.
Well, no,
but really. Also at the same time, it's very unique.
No, I don't think it's anything against you, MR, because, you kind of have a point. Rin is pretty uncaring of Itsuki's feelings. And she makes it clear that she could abandon him and Hina and everyone else at any time.
Yeah, which is not typical the way VNs tend to do childhood friend heroine, right? And that's why it's so unique.
I mean, it's a little bit like a tsundere, right?
Yeah, and that's what I'm worried about. It's when we finally get to Rin, I'm like, okay, she was tsundere the entire time. Okay.
Well, hey, let's not complain about stuff that hasn't even happened.
Yeah, sure. Okay.
Anyways, I like her, though. I like how she's very pragmatic, business-focused, and she seems to be the only one being careful enough in a danger-fraught criminal underworld.
Yeah, I wish she had more involvement other than the business side, because, like you mentioned before, talking about business, not always, but oftentimes is the most boring part of the Criminal Border.
Mm-hmm. And well,
that's what I mentioned in the volume 1. I love the scene in which Hina confronts Rin. That was one of my favorite for the Hina's development. Man, that was perfect.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, go Hina. And she saved the day again. When Koto
exactly, that's true.
ran back home Yeah, and she said, hey, let's talk. And then, Hina threw everything back into Kotoko's face and pointed out how selfish she's being.
Yeah. But, well, another Hina confrontation. I wonder what the next would be Hina confrontation. We need to keep track of that. Because holy hell, her saves are amazing. It's probably the strongest wingman.
Heck yeah. She's being more main character material. Let's go, girl.
Yeah, true. Although, I gotta say, when it comes to my favorite big brain moment, it has to be Tatsuya's confrontation with Koji. Holy shit, that was well fucking done, man.
Mm-hmm.
How he baited the answers using the psychological manipulation. Man, that was fucking on point, what he did.
Yeah, it's pretty funny that, like, all across first offense and second offense, he kind of, sadly just sighs to himself that, yeah, that Koji's kind of a dumbass.
And here in this volume 2 has two big moments. One is he baiting Koji to speak, and the second, he deduces the role of Meryl.
Ah, yeah, that's
and
true.
Like, what the hell? Those are big fucking important moments. And like that elevates in my eyes Tatsuya very high. Holy fuck.
Mm-hmm. But even though he's kind of got a weird way of thinking sometimes,
Yeah, that's true.
he might get easily distracted. Yeah. But just like Hina,
True.
He's also very perceptive about others.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But as for me, I know you're talking about characters you love. I would actually have to give a shout out to Koji. Mostly because Koji is more similar than you'd like to think to Itsuki and his predicaments. Yes, he's a high schooler punk, and he started off already in Dread, so it's not like he's the goody two-shoes that Itsuki was, but still, both of them got in way over their heads, involving Rave and getting involved in these criminals and the Yakuza. Itsuki is honestly very fortunate for his circumstances. He's childhood friends with Rin, who, even though she kind of hates him and barely tolerates him, she still helps out Itsuki a ton and uses all her skills and connections. Hina, right away warms up to him and helps him become a lot more stylish and confident. Even Tatsuya becomes friends with him. Things generally go well for Itsuki all throughout Criminal Border First Offense. Whereas you look at Koji, on the other hand, and that guy has nothing going from him, apparently. He doesn't seem to have any friends. He doesn't have this secret superpowered digital drug. He is purely on his own, who gets kicked out of school and has to just become a Yakuza underling. And on top
think
of that,
about the first time we got introduced to Koji. He got mistreated even by Tatsuya, who basically treated him as an expendable pawn, yeah.
Yeah, it's like, hey, buddy, you're going to be testing this thing so we can all believe it. And it's like, oh, crap, you just went nuts in front of all of us.
Yeah, and then they laughed at him. Like, I get it. Like, I agree with you that Koji is the bad route of Itsuki, right?
Yeah, I mean, here's a guy who, same thing, closer to Itsuki than they'd like to admit. But yeah, he's really got nothing going for him. He falls into some bad crowds, and things just go from worse to worse to worse. Whereas Itsuki, everything just goes well for him. I know it's a little funny to say that about him considering his circumstances now, but yeah, overall things go well for him, and he has a lot of allies by his side. And instead, Koji has a terrible time, and he even winds up dead.
Yeah, and honestly, I don't think that's even weird for you to say, because I believe between Shinonome and Koji, those were a pair of very good antagonists throughout the entire volume. And with Koji end, I think it only means Shinonome will be more and more antagonistic and being the main obstacle coming forward.
Oh yeah, definitely. He ended the chapter like, oh, I can't believe I have to get serious against a kid, but if he wants it, he's gonna get it.
Exactly, like, oh my god.
Mm-hmm. And of course, we can also see that the next heroine that Third Offense will focus on is Meryl, who seems to have way more dangerous connections than anyone else thought.
This is something I thought even in the first volume, but I wasn't sure how to formulate in the sentence, but now that I think a little bit more, I know. Meryl resembles, you know what? She resembles the most, at least for me, Diana from Demon's Fruits. Kind of fish out of water character that actually fits incredibly well, but you're not quite sure where she's allegiance are. So given the fact how even transparent in the first and the second volume, is she a double agent? Will the thing for the next volume she'll become the triple super duper agent? A spy? I don't know. This is the most intriguing. What's the next direction for it? How much she's involved with Yakuza? Will she be like I don't know, bodyguard for some other grifts? I think that's how they call it, right? Mm-hmm. Grifts. Maybe some debt collector, maybe some shakedown character, a spy, assassin, I don't fucking know. What other typical Yakuza things do you anticipate?
Whatever it is, it'll be for donuts.
Oh my god, I can now imagine in mind Mer is a debt collector that comes house to house and demands donuts.
There you go. Hey, we're gonna offer you some protection. And in return, give me donuts.
Yeah. I got you out Yakuza 3 donuts. Oh my God.
But yeah, cool. Anyways, I mean, it's hard to say what I think about Criminal Border now that we're at the halfway point. Even though it has good parts, overall, like I'm seriously, this tends to get more boring more often than not. What are you thinking about it, Amar?
I think with Volume 2 I was on average less bored than on the first. But I really want to see more use of the digital drug because that was the initial hook from the Volume 1 and I don't think they are using it to its full potential.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's rarely we don't see anything about Rave itself. It's just a whole bunch of stuff involving Rave. It's just them creating the place that hosts it. It's them fighting about it. Yeah,
exactly. Like, please spend half the time you do building the criminal super ultra mega empire into researching the Rave and improving that. Into maybe 7 different versions of Raves for a different situation. I don't know. There's potential there.
Yep. I think this is still really getting carried by the premise. It's a great premise, and we're still kind of... to be fair, we're advancing from that. He was a normal high school boy who stumbled onto this incredible super weapon, and yeah, looking back from the start and where we are now, a lot has certainly happened. Things have changed in his life and with others, but still, it's hard to feel like that much really did happen. It's kind of, wow, how did we get from there to here and it didn't feel like it?
True. Not all the character growth that Itsuki got have, in my opinion, been earned. I have to say. Although I gotta say, props to the protag because that confrontation with the mafia boss was fire.
Oh, the second time?
That scene. Yeah. When he made demands. That was fucking fire.
He's all like, I don't give a shit about you.
Yeah. And even the resolution was fucking amazing that he absolved Tatsuya and Hina from the original death. That was fucking fire.
That was so sweet. On the flip side...
Before you ask me for the best girl, now I have to say the best romance is the bromance, okay?
Bromance.
Now that's the answer. With Tatsuya.
And even though this episode was about Kotoko, I still gotta give massive props to Hina, because goodness gracious, she still comes in clutch.
That save was amazing. Holy hell.
Good on her.
That was clutch. Oh my fucking god.
Well, we'll still be planning to read Criminal Border, and we will have Third Offence prepped and ready to go for you soon.
Yep. So now for the new and exciting thing that we've never seen before is the transfer student, right?
From America.
That's what we needed. Oh my God.
Yes, looking forward to it.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, with that being said, I think thanks for all our listeners, and see you next week for the more criminal border.
VNture out.
VNture out.